Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I will change my name when I'm 18 whether she likes it or not? I'll keep it short. My dad died when I was 6 and my mom remarried when I was 7. When my mom remarried, her husband adopted me, which I didn't want, and they changed my middle name and last name. Middle name went from my dad's middle name to her husband's first name, and she gave me her husband's last name. I never liked it. I have always resented them both for forcing the adoption on me and for changing my name. I'm a few months shy of 18, and I decided I would bring up the topic of changing my name back to my mom. I figured it might seem more mature to discuss it with her and give a heads up of sorts. Not him though, since it will just end in a fight. It ended in one anyway. My mom told me I wasn't going to change the name. It would be hurting and disrespectful, and that was the end of the conversation. I told her I gave the heads up to be nice, but it wasn't up for debate. She told me I wasn't going to do it. That she and my dad don't deserve it. I told her I was going to do it whether she liked it or not, and she had to live with it. My mom freaked. Her husband also freaked when he heard. They said I have no right to be so rude, and then my aunt decided to chime in and say I should have handled my mom's reaction more maturely, and it would have looked way better. And I was kinda a-hole for how I handled it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. It's your name. End of story. It already sounds pretty crappy that she changed it in the first place. I never understood why parents would change kids' names as soon as they got married. And considering the fact Opie's name got changed a year after the dad died, makes Opie's mom an even bigger a-hole in my opinion. Not the a-hole. Not only did they change his last name, but they removed dad's middle name too. Makes me wonder what would they have done if Opie was Bio Dad Jr. Why do parents do this? Not the a-hole. That's so weird to change your middle name too, in my opinion. You can have whatever name you would like. You were old enough that you should have been consulted, not just told, here's your new middle and last name. Right? The last name is easy to compartmentalize away, but the middle name? You can pry my middle name from my cold dead hands. Not the a-hole. You didn't want the name changed then, and now you get to decide. My guess is that this is the tip of the iceberg with them. Not the a-hole. When you're an adult, you can do what you want to do with your name. You feel your real name was stolen from you and you're going to put things right. I don't blame you. They cannot stop you from pursuing this. Good luck. Next story is titled, Would I be the a-hole if I don't change my name with my mom when my parents divorce? When I, female 27, was born, I had my mom's maiden name as my mom and bio father weren't married. Bio father left, and my mom met my stepdad when I was 3. They married when I was 6, and my mom took his last name. When I was 8, my stepdad adopted me and I took his last name as well. So I had my mom's maiden name until 8 and my stepdad's last name ever since. Most days I forget my stepdad isn't my biological dad. Even calling him my stepdad on here for clarity's sake sounds weird. To me, he's just my dad. The only one I've ever known. My mom and stepdad had my younger sister when I was 9, so she's always had my stepdad's last name. After 21 years of marriage, my mom and stepdad are divorcing on okay terms. Not great, but not explosive either. More of a falling out of love, but still wanting the best for each other type of thing. My mom will change back to her maiden name, and I know that she'll be hurt if I don't follow suit. While I know that legally I can do whatever, I know that I really only have access to that last name because of her marriage to him. He wouldn't have adopted me if they hadn't gotten married. I also do historically have a different last name to return to, unlike my sister who has had his name all her life. I plan to stay close with both parents after their divorce, but my stepdad has no issue with me keeping his last name. My whole adult life is built on that last name, both personal and professional, and it feels like part of my identity now. I know it's going to hurt my mom when I tell her I don't want to change my name too, but I don't want to change it. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. 1. You're an adult and don't have to change your name to please your mother. 2. There are legal steps and costs involved in changing your name as an adult. Have you looked into those? 3. Your dad adopted you, so you absolutely have a right to the name. I wouldn't call Mom an a-hole in this from what Opie has so far told us. At most, it sounds like she might feel a little hurt, and she's allowed her own private feelings about things. But it doesn't sound like she would be kicking up a fuss or guilting Opie about it. So even that can't make me think of her as an a-hole. And that is assuming it is even true. It kind of feels like Opie is projecting a bit onto Mom. So I'd say no a-holes here. And Opie, maybe if you want to sit down and talk to your mom about this? It sounds like Opie is assuming their mom will be hurt and hasn't had any conversation. You divorce wives, not children. No a-holes here. Info. Has your mom indicated that she expects you to change your name? You may be worried about something that she's not expecting. Was gonna say the same thing. Opie needs to speak to her mom. Exactly this. This whole post seems to be based entirely on Opie's perception of what her mom might want and not any actual communication. Personally, I don't get why she's assuming that her mother would expect her almost 30-year-old daughter to change her name with her, but maybe Mom has toxic personality traits that Opie didn't state. What I feel is most likely is that Opie's playing into her own insecurities that her father might reject her as his daughter once her parents are officially divorced. The fact that she states she was only adopted because her parents got married leaves me to think so. I definitely would look into therapy if I were her. This name thing just seems like a symptom of a larger anxiety and issue. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening to name my child after my sister's husband? My sister, 38 female, has a couple of children, all girls, and she is a good mother. However, her parenting style is different than mine. Her style is the cried-out method. I, 20s female, have chosen the attachment/intuitive style of parenting. Our parenting styles are complete opposites. My son is healthy and is hitting milestones at 8 months ahead of where he is supposed to be. Our pediatrician informed us of this. My sister only criticizes my parenting. She's mad that I don't take her advice, and in her eyes, since I'm not doing it her way, then I'm implying she's done it wrong. Her girls are great kids, and I've told her that there are more than one way to raise children, and each family is different. I have tried so many ways to get her to understand and respect my boundaries. Rationalizing with her. Telling her I heard what she said, but I prefer my way with my child. If she has more to say, to write it down, and I will look up the statistics and studies of her suggestions. I told her if her teenage daughter or our mother were crying, we would try to comfort them. So why wouldn't we offer that same support to a child? I am introverted and she is a type A extrovert. She constantly overwhelms me, yet I have been persistent and respectful in defending what I think is right for my family. On Mother's Day, I announced that my husband and I will be having another child and we are expecting another boy. Everyone was happy, except my sister. She made comment after comment about how she hopes I raised this one differently, so he doesn't become spoiled like my first child. I was so hurt. I asked her to please stop, and so did some other family members. She wouldn't. So jokingly, I told her if she doesn't stop, then I was going to name my son after her husband. Her husband thought it was a great idea, since he got snipped after giving up hope and having a boy, and it would be nice to have a nephew named after him. My sister literally cursed me out. I told her I was kidding, and that everyone knows that the fathers are responsible for the gender of the babies, not the moms. My brother called me privately asking me to apologize because I really hurt my sister's feelings. I argued that she constantly hurts my feelings, and no one says anything because she's such a Karen sometimes. Am I the a-hole and should I apologize? Now for the top comments. In my personal opinion, you are not the a-hole. My reasoning is this. 1. She is consistently harassing you. If it were just giving advice, it would be one thing. But putting down your views and ignoring your opinion/personality. 2. She ignored everyone telling her to stop in order to make assert that only she knows how to raise a child. 3. She complains of cuddling your children, but then expects to be cuddled over a joke. I understand that she's family, but you have to establish boundaries because she's crossed one too many. You shouldn't feel attacked for doing what you think is best for your child and family. Thank you for taking the time to reply, and you made very good points. Please, tell your brother to just let your sister to just cry it out. Honestly, you both sound like you're playing in the Mom Olympics. Even reading this exhausted me. Everyone has their own style, but my baby is hitting milestones at 8 months early. Everyone sucks here. You both need to get over this BS. I added that comment about his milestones to show that I'm taking care of my child since you don't know me. Also, a trained professional like our pediatrician is a good outside source for my sister and I, since it's less likely to be biased. Yeah, you still are just gloating. Your kid is 8 months old meeting their milestones. It's not like they're doing algebra. And seriously, it's not a competition. You have to stop comparing your kid to everyone else's. It's going to end badly. Everyone sucks here. That was a strange thing to tell your sister. Like, really weird. You named the baby after her husband? I really don't understand how you leapt to that threat of all things. That really crossed a boundary, honestly. You should apologize for that. Your sister owes you quite an apology too. She clearly is not respecting your boundaries and was extremely rude after your announcement. So I totally understand your frustration. I'm curious who keeps bringing up all these parenting conversations. Does she initiate? Is it equal? Are you commenting on her parenting too? She sounds a bit jealous and bitter from the way you described her. I would tell her you no longer want to discuss any parenting/child raising issues with her, and if she can't respect that, then you need to distance yourself from her for a while. Make it clear to her how you're feeling. Best of luck! Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for the way I handled my best friend telling me the name they chose for their coming child? So, a little backstory. We, both early 30s male, have been friends since we were 14. We have talked every single day, at least once a day on the phone since that time. We've only had one fight in our entire friendship, and it was when we were young, and it hasn't happened since. Needless to say, we're pretty close friends. He recently split with the mother of his child, moved out, and 4 weeks later she called him with the pregnancy news. So he's decided to get back together with her and move back in with her. Well, he called me this morning and was excited to tell me they had come up with a definite name for the baby. One if it's a boy and one if it's a girl. He built it up pretty good, like, okay dude, you ready? I think you're gonna love them, man. The boy's name will be Abel Rain Blank, and the girl's name Annabelle Queen Blank. I'm omitting his last name here. And then he proceeded to explain to me how Abel is an uncommon name and is biblical. He isn't religious, neither is the mom. And Rain is a badass middle name, and Annabelle Queen because she's gonna be a queen. My reaction was what made him kind of upset. I didn't say anything at first because I was trying to think of what to say. I thought they were terrible, and I just imagined having the name Abel Rain in 2031 as a 10-year-old and how I would hate it. So he was like, "What do you think, uncle?" And I was like, "Oh man, that's cool." But it was so disingenuous, but I did not mean to come off that way. It just sort of came out. After that, he knew what I thought, and I couldn't convince him I liked them. So I just told him, "Hey man, I stand by your choice. I don't have any stock in naming your child, so as long as you're happy, I'm happy." And he was like, "Yeah, okay man, thanks, I gotta go." And got off the phone pretty quickly. I can't help but think it really hurts his feelings, and I hate it. Am I an a-hole for not being so excited about the name of his kid it chose? Not an a-hole. They are pretty terrible names. Hugh acknowledged his choices without being rude. Shocked maybe, but not rude. But if his kids are lucky, your hesitance at accepting the names might get them to rethink naming a human either of those awful choices. The middle names are a bit undesirable, but Abel and Annabelle are perfectly fine first names in my opinion. No a-holes here. No a-holes here, but Abel and Annabelle are both pretty standard names. Abel is not super common now, but it's fine. I'm not a fan of the middle names, but they're only middle names. You probably need to get better at responding to things you don't like. The long pause might have been more offensive than just immediately saying something like, "Wow, those are pretty unique middle names." But you're fine, he'll get over it. Or even better, he'll rethink the middle names. There are at least 3 Abels in my kids right now. Not a weird name at all. And about 30 Bellas. Nothing at all weird about their name. I agree. Middle names are pretty meaningless as you go through life. This is good advice. But as far as name goes, these kids will be just fine. Not an a-hole. You tried to be supportive at least. You did a lot better than I did when a friend told me he and his partner were considering naming their son Wolfram, so his nickname would be Wolfie. I laughed in his face as I honestly didn't think he was being serious. That sounds like a joke to me too, so I can't blame your reaction at all.